Today we'll be reviewing Kirby Air Riders. Now the demo was amazing, so good I made a whole video about it, but for this review I really wanted to dig my teeth into the full game and truly experience everything it has to offer. Just to make sure my opinion is as honest and unbiased as possible without feeling rushed, I 100% completed the solo mode and put a respectable amount of hours into this game. However, this video might be longer than usual and I want to be respectful for your time, so I sectioned this review into clear chapters if you want to listen to specific parts. And also to help me organize my thoughts because I could ramble about this game for a while. Before we jump into the incredible game modes, I have to talk about the constant comparisons between this game and Mario Kart World. And I've been playing Mario Kart for a long time, Double Dash, DS, and then I took a break because I didn't own a Wii. But then I played Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Mario Kart World, so I've been with it for a while. Where I never played Kirby Air Ride for the GameCube, I was too busy playing Melee. The main difference for me between the two games is the online experience, and I know patches happen for Mario Kart World, and I'm sure there will be patches for Kirby Air Riders, so this stuff may change in the future. With my experience playing online Mario Kart, I don't really mind the highway tracks that much, and the recent changes to make 3-lap courses more common is a great quality of life change. But something that makes the replayability of Mario Kart hard for me is how ruthless the ranking system is. There's this vicious cycle of wanting to play a fun combo like DK that isn't necessarily a good combo to drive with, then playing said combo and getting hard punished because of it because you got hit once. And you lose a lot of rank points for it, especially if there's people in the lobby that have a lower rank than you, so you're more punished if you have a higher rank when you're playing against those lower ranked people. Then I switch to a more optimal combo and I feel like I'm driving well, but I still get Mario Karted, place 7th, which out of 24 people that's not a bad rank, but you still get negative points. Like what the heck? This could be a skill diff moment from me, but to spend a whole race to usually get a low rank because of something I can't control, which is getting wombo comboed by the Void, it's not really motivating to continue playing, and the negative points at the end is just rubbing salt into the wound. And it's also not that motivating to try doing flashy shortcuts online because for the most part, every other 20 drivers are going to go for that same shortcut and bump people off, which is not worth it in my opinion. The online experience for Kirby Air Riders, on the other hand, feels like the outcome of your city trial is in your control. It feels more strategic to pick the final game based on what you made, and it feels good knowing that your decisions have influenced how good or bad you did. Whereas with Mario Kart World, sometimes your decisions don't matter and it's more up to external factors. I understand that for playing well in Mario Kart, you want to have good skills so that when you get that lucky race where you don't get comboed or you dodge a shock that you could take advantage of it. But like Sakurai said, making a race of 24 people makes the odds of you winning significantly lower. With the 16 people divided into 4 different games at the end of Kirby Air Riders, and assuming everyone evenly divides themselves into each game, you have a 1 in 4 chance of winning statistically, which is way higher than 1 out of 24. But with my personal anecdote aside, it would be a disservice to either game to compare these two because these two games are extremely different from one another despite both being in the quote racing game genre. Similar to like Smash and Tekken where they're both labeled as fighting games, but they are extremely different. Both great games in their own way, but function very differently. If you like Mario Kart and want to try out Kirby Air Riders, the best parallel I can draw for you is to take the battle mode from Mario Kart and refine it super well for it to feel like its own game and not just a side dish of a mode. And of course put Kirby characters on there for the flavor. Don't get me wrong, I love playing some balloon battle, but battle mode in Mario Kart always felt like it was an obligation to put in the game, but the developers don't put as much time and resources into improving that mode. And in Mario Kart World there's only 2 modes, at least bring back Renegade Roundup, that one is just delightful to play. Kirby Air Riders has a lot of arena style battle games with a ton of variety based on what the objective is, so if you are craving a more fleshed out battle mode, I highly recommend getting this game. There are aspects of racing in this Kirby game, and it's important to know how to boost charge and drift and whatnot, but there are a lot of other objectives in Air Riders besides racing. There's more melee based objectives like Big Battle, Dust Up Derbies, and even boss battles. There's gliding based events where having good flying skills is essential to win. There's closed arena events like Button Press and Gourmet Race which test how good your maneuverability is. There's just a lot in this game. I can definitely see an average person watch gameplay of Air Riders and think this is overstimulating, and that's honestly fair, it can be a lot. But if you start off this game with the lessons and road trip which really helps ease you into the Kirby Air Riders engine, you'll be driving a Warp Star like a pro in no time. With all of that being said, let's check out the most popular game mode, which is City Trial is the 16-player mode that is the meat and potatoes of this game that you will most likely spend the most time in. In 5 minutes, you get the scavenge Skya for vehicles, abilities, and power-ups to upgrade your stats, and at the end you can play a head-to-head game to determine your placement. Every city trial is different because you can get different stats, different special events can happen that can determine your choices, and you'll most likely not get the same 2 head-to-head games in a row. I would not recommend playing this mode until you complete Road Trip at least once so you get the basics of the game. But once you get the rules, this game mode is oddly reminiscent of a God Run in Risk of Rain 2, where you accumulate so many items that so much craziness can happen near the tail end of a run. Shout out to my Bungus engineers out there. It's like a city trial is a roguelike and you're trying to create a build that suits your desires. Do you want to glide through the sky with ease and guarantee wins on flight-based games? Try looking for more flying-friendly vehicles and focus more on finding glide upgrades. Do you want to blow up opponents with powerful hits? Ride more offensive cars and pick upgrades that work better in a combat situation. And if you want to go really fast, just get the F1 car and all the top speed upgrades and you're good to go. If you play smart and with a little bit of luck, you can build legendary vehicles that truly shine and can basically seal a win. I'm very lucky that I managed to get these recorded, but Hydra here has some unparalleled top speed when you get a good boost, which left all my opponents literally in the dust for this rail ride. Gigantes here is a new legendary vehicle that makes you a super massive chonker that just destroys everything in sight. Like, I'm just spinning and shooting missiles and people are just blowing up. Riding Gigantes forces the last game to have all 15 players fight against me in the big bad tank. The feeling of being essentially a raid boss and crushing these puny ants was exhilarating to say the least. And it's pretty funny to see Gooey on the tank up there. There is a sense of excitement where you don't really know what you'll get in each city trial run, but by checking your stats mid-run, you can strategize and try to prioritize certain tasks. For example, if you notice that you have a lot of top speed, maybe it's best to try to find a vehicle that's incredibly fast on the ground, like a wheelie bike. Hopefully you get a racing game at the end. If you see that you have a lot of glide power-ups, maybe it's best to not ride a super heavy beefy car and swap to a lighter fly-safe vehicle. Another big aspect that I grew to appreciate in this game is the sense of combat in City Trial. Getting blown up sucks because you lose a good chunk of what you collected, but defeating others is just so satisfying. And if you can drop enemies to 0, you get some upgrades for yourself, which is also a plus. If you notice that someone is blinking red, you can go for what is essentially a homing attack forward smash to execute people. Literally the same as Smash. Sakurai, you genius, you. There's a ton of different items and abilities you can use, from classic Kirby abilities like Cutter, Fighter, and Steel Ball, or more stage hazard like items like these motion sensor bombs, Gordos, or whatever these things are called. You can also use your final smash to deal some damage and cause some mischief. Personally, I like Yellow Kirby the most to summon a massive explosion, so you can do some crazy stuff like this. If you want to try hard like I did, trying to min-max builds is what I really like to do, and there's this really far away floating island that requires a lot of drift upgrades and a good flying vehicle to get there. So, I would mostly play Meta Knight for his naturally high flight stat and focus on getting a wing star or a paper star, and as many white glider stats as possible so I could blast out a volcano and get myself to the floating garden. The garden always has more upgrades, and then I could eventually make it to the far off island that appears sometimes. It's not always there, so just make sure to double check if it's there, and then I get even more upgrades, and it's very satisfying for me. While I'm maxing out my ability to levitate, I'm also extremely fragile, so if someone does destroy me, it's pretty difficult to recollect myself, and that's kind of the fun part for me, where that sense of fragility makes my movement and pathing much more important. If you want a more top speed based build, pick Rocky or Susie, and if you want a more combat based build, I recommend Marks or Knuckle Joe. But hey, it's a Kirby game, and although there are some stats to spec into, you can always just pick your favorite and have a blast either way. The last great thing that I'm going to talk about City Trials is how easy and quick it is to re-queue into a new game after one is finished. Great because you get to run more games and make new builds, not great because you play another, and another, and another, and another like it's no big deal. Sakurai, you genius, you. The action is just non-stop, and there's always something to do in a city trial, and when you think you can catch a breather, oops, there's a boss that just showed up on the road that you have to beat up, or everyone just can't stop spinning, or there's a secret room that you just have to find, or there's a treasure chest, there's a lot. The only small gripe that I have with this game mode in particular is that I wish there was a way to see what stats you collected without needing to pause to check. Then again, there is already a lot of stuff happening on the UI here, so it might have made it a bit too cluttered, so I can't really complain there. And it's a little too sweaty for me to try to optimize a fun game like this to have this change, but I'm an esports coach, what can I say, it's in my blood. So in summary, if you're into arcadey roguelike-esque gameplay that involves driving around town, breaking blocks, snatching stats, and maneuvering minigames to become a powered up unit, I would heavily recommend getting Kirby Air Riders, as this is most likely what game mode you'll be playing the most. But if you don't have experience with Kirby Air Riders, and before you jump right into City Trials, I definitely suggest you play Road Trip. Is your single player story mode where you discover the lore of the Kirby Air Riders universe. Not only does it provide some oddly high definition cutscenes, but picking the normal difficulty allows a more palatable way to learn the ins and outs of this game. The reason being is that you start off with no stats whatsoever, so it's really slow. This is the perfect welcome for newcomers to dip their toes into this type of game without blasting them with everything all at once. You get to explore different game modes at your own pace and learn by playing, which is the best way to learn. The different options that let you move on to the next stage are cute and fun, and the little unique items that you grab do give a sense of wonder of thinking, oh, I wonder what this does. It also slowly teaches you the differences between each vehicle and introduces the different tracks in a small, digestible way. The game mode itself is extremely Smash Ultimate World of Light coded. Here's what the event looks like in Road Trip, here's what an event looks like in World of Light. It's the same exact thing, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's clean, it's sharp, it's quick, and you dive right into the action. And if you haven't noticed already, a lot of the graphics in this game are extremely similar to Smash. The story itself is pretty on brand for Kirby, as it introduces our main point of mystery as the machines yearn for something far, far away. We meet Zora, an immobile but conscious machine who's been on planet Popstar for a long time. Luckily, Zora plays Melee and made a wish to the Fountain of Dreams, but this big guy up here was inspired by the wish and started 3D printing cars. Nova sneezed these cars onto the planet so the citizens can create highways. Then this extremely disturbing scene happens. The ants steal essentially the equivalent of Iron Man's heart and plug it into the big bad tank. Gigantus needs a lot of fuel, so he tries to call for all the other machines filled with will to come over for some milk and cookies. Now we get to introduce this awesome character, Noir DDD, which is basically a part of Zora that gets to freely drive and starts bodying everyone returning to the beacon. Noir Deity is aware about Gigantus' plan, so to prevent that, he just destroys all the other machines that are coming to Gigantus. But you get there and you get to have this cool big fight with the big bad, and the game is like, oh, there's actually a true ending if you do the whole thing and you acquire all the different cars. So when you initially beat the game, you destroy Gigantus and you start flying to the sunset, and Noir Deity turns into sand. But this smug looking guy dips the party. Once you replay Road Trip on the highest difficulty and get all the machines, you get to fight Hyper Gigantus, and Noir Deity hits the Dragoon Smash special on him. Then you, the player, gets to take the fight to Nova on this new guy, which I assume is Zora, but mixed with the burning desire to roam the world freely, as per his wish. After crushing Nova's heart, a remnant of Zora's soul returns and starts a neat little magic trick, reassembling itself and ascends. The final stage is pretty neat because you do feel overflowing with power as you take down this neat boss rush section before stopping the big bad evil, and it was a sweet story in a sweet solo mode. I think I'm a bit too casual to understand the details of the story. I am aware of how complex Kirby lore can get. On its own, it was a pretty captivating concept to help motivate the player continue through a playthrough, and the big payoff for fully completing it was very satisfying. After exploring all the different stages, completing it twice, and clearing all the achievements, I don't think there's a real need to play again unless you want to fill in this section with every character. Road Trip is an amazing introduction to Kirby Air Riders, allowing players like me to discover the many modes I can experience. Some of the challenges were annoyingly difficult, but it's a pretty generous system that you'll eventually complete it even if you are struggling. I think the purpose of these two game modes, Air Ride and Top Ride, is to serve those that really want to get high records on how fast you could complete each track. Additionally, these modes do show off how incredibly pretty the graphics can be. Like if you thought the water level was amazing, just look at this footage. Like these tracks have so much flavor, so much personality, and it's so memorable. For Air Ride, there are 9 new tracks and 9 revamped retro tracks, which is 18 in total. For Top Ride, there are 8 tracks to select. However, after playing Road Trip and City Trial, these two modes become the weekend of the game. The racing is pretty neat at first, and experiencing each track for the first time is thrilling. After a while, if you're a completionist like myself, you start to see these checklist prompts on the bottom and try to achieve each one, and for each mode to have 150 boxes to fill in, the replayability starts to feel a bit too mundane and stale, and a little too much of a grind. I haven't filled these in yet, but I'd assume it would take just as long, if not longer, than completing the road trip art. You can adjust each of the settings to make achieving these checklists easier, but that also feels a bit anti-fun personally. But on the other side, if a challenge seems too hard and I try to complete it honestly, it can get frustrating if one mistake ruins the whole win condition. It's just a little bit too tedious for me. I'll be honest, I could not find an online match for Air Ride. I don't think anyone wants to play this mode if City Trial exists. Same with Top Ride, I could not find people that are queuing up for these modes. So my experience is just playing against CPUs, which isn't the most exciting. And that might be a testament of how these particular modes are just not as engaging in the long run. When placed next to City Trial, it's a nuclear bomb versus a coughing baby decision. I'd much rather spend my gaming hours ranking up and trying a run than to fill out these checkboxes. And remember, this is just my opinion, so if you like these modes the most, that's great, and I don't want to take that away from you. And the experience of driving in Air Ride and Top Ride are really fun. Like, that's still really great. But I would say City Trial is just ranked above them. Every few days, there will be a unique event that slightly changes the rules of the game. Another feature extremely similar to the Smash Tourney online events. These events have a point system that let you gain exclusive rewards like names, decals, stickers, and accessories. The events are nice because it pulls me away from grinding ranked City Trial, and I can do more goofy things or experiment with different items or strategies. By the time of this recording, there was this team battle City Trial, and I managed to get more achievements because of it. I'm excited to see what wacky variations they have in store for future events. I'm really hoping they use events to promote the other modes as well. There could be a simple change to Air Ride that makes more people enjoy playing it so I could actually find a match online, or add to the chaos in some manner. I think it would be really cool if they included some game-changing features to these events, like possibly a first-person perspective on this game. That might be kinda too crazy for like more motion-sick people, but you know, you get the idea. Besides the game modes, there's a lot of extra customization options to toy around with when you need a break from the action. You can decorate your license, you can decorate your machine, you can decorate your garage, you can decorate your head, and you can work your way up to be a millionaire. Why would you want to do this? Because Sakurai wants you to have fun, and some people want to eat these gummies or create the most popular machine. By the way, I'm not the most talented person for customizing machines, but I did list some of my own, so if you could buy them, that would be awesome. Maybe we could cause some economic disaster in the mile shop together. I've seen some pretty creative machines and some brain rot, so it's a little bit for everybody. The passion and dedication poured into this game is as clear as crystals. The team behind Kirby Air Riders wanted to provide a very efficient gaming experience that quite literally tosses you to fly into the sky. It's quick to get you running the way you want to play, whether that would be a traditional racing game, a wholesome bird's eye view game, an enjoyable solo story mode, and the main course, which is to let you explore an island, looking for loot, then playing a Mario Party minigame with your now upgraded car. I'm sure if you're already a fan of Kirby and the more niche Kirby Air Ride, after 2 decades you're gonna buy this game, but if you don't fall into that category like myself, I would still recommend trying out this game or play it at a friend's house that owns the game first. Or you could have tried the demo too, the demo is really good. If you like other racing games like Mario Kart, give this one a spin, but try to keep an open mind as it's nothing like Mario Kart. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing as it really does help support the channel. Shout out to all my YouTube members, and if you want to see my video about the Kirby Air Riders demo, check it out right here.